Hello my crafty friends, Corrine here from Corrine Crafts. I'm going to keep this quick. This is the beautiful card we are about to make. Now the whole purpose of this is to show you that if you don't like colouring your die cuts, I'm going to show you another way to create some beautiful inky backgrounds to stamp onto so that you don't have to do any colouring and your projects still look amazing. I'm also going to give you a couple of tips if you're struggling to colour match your pearls. Lots of bits. So I think we should just get straight on with it. My thinking behind this card was not everybody enjoys painting or colouring their stamped images. So I thought, is there another way I can make a card where we're not really colouring our stamped images? And this is what I came up with. So I want to show you this. First of all, I've got a card base and I've measured it out and it's 5.5 by 6.75 inches. So it's a white card, but on the front of there I have stuck a piece of cream texture card the same size as my card base, so it gives the impression of being a cream texture card, but it's not. And onto there I've then put some gorgeous orange linen card. So I've taken the center out because I needed to cut a matte layer out, which I've done from that bottom corner, but the rest can be used for another project, so I need to keep that and you'll see why in a minute. Now I've got 5.5 by 6.75 because I'm going to use this die. So this die cuts and does all these perforations at the same time, and the finished size when it's cut out is 4.25 by 5.5. So we've actually gone up by 1.25 inches. You can't see, that's not the right size. 1.25 inches when it's cut, so you can see it's a little bit bigger border. So all I need to do is take my die, put it onto a piece of the cream card, nice and snug, and run that through my die cutting machine. So I'm going to do that now and then I'll show you what that looks like. Right, so as it comes out of the die cutting machine, you can see it's done this beautifully and it has cut, it's perforated. I think I've got most of those have come out, or there's a couple left on. It's cut, perforated and done that gorgeous detail. Now I've used this one before and I've tried to keep the hearts in, but for this time I thought I would press them out. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? And that is going on to another piece of cream. Now this would look lovely onto some orange, so if I had have got this piece of orange bigger, you would have seen the hearts through there as orange, but I decided I really wanted it to be cream on cream. Now this is my off-white really cardstock. I love this. I love using this. It's not a full-on cream, it's just more of a you know, like I say, an off-white. So that's going to go onto here, and you know I love to do white on white or cream on cream layers. Just gives a really lovely effect. So that's going to go on there. It's in perfect border all the way around. There we are. I've got a little thread there. That's going to annoy me. Look at that. That was just a little thread. There we are. And that is going to go onto that card base that you saw. So we can take that and then I'm just going to pop it on with some foam tape. And as you see, I very often do cut the centers out. You can't see it. Nobody's going to ever see that centers out. I've been able to use it from my matte layer and I'll be able to use it for another project. I just keep it until I want it. It's amazing when you just need that little bit of you know, a little bit of colour, maybe to cut a butterfly out, to cut one set of flowers out, you know. And I've just nearly stuck that down wrong. I've got a piece of coloured cardstock to put on first. That was close, wasn't it? Nearly did that wrong. And I've actually cut, this is why I've gone, now I'm doing this, remember, this is why I've got a 1.25 border between the top and the bottom layer. It's because I want to see a little bit more of this pattern paper than you normally would. So so this border is going to be a little bit bigger than normal. This card is going to work for so many occasions. Let's get it the right way up. Now put that on. So can you see? I've got a skinny border, a bigger border, and then back to my skinny border. I really love that. And it just frames that perfectly. As I always do, I'm going to pop a weight on, and then I'm going to pop something heavy on there. And whilst we do the next bit, I'm just going to leave that off camera. I think that's off camera. Not sure if you can see that, or you can just see the corner of it on there. So we need to get a piece of watercolour card, and I'm going to have a go at doing some pretty bits on here. So what have I got? I have got some grasshopper, I've got some honey pot, and I've got some orange, because those are the colours that I think are going to work with this. So I'm going to make some background. So I've got my little piece of cello bag with some kitchen roll inside. You know I have the different sizes, but for this I want the smaller one. So let's start with honey pot. So I'm going to pop a little bit of honey pot onto here. This could be any size. This is just literally a scrap because we're going to be cutting into this. A bit of water, just pick it up, and then we're just going to smooch it all over. I'll tell you what I did do before. So actually just give my card a little bit of a wet. I think I need a bit more ink now. There we go, because it was a bit, it just, there you go, it just takes the colour a bit better. Now, as I say, this is what we're going to be stamping onto, cutting out of, so just, it really totally however you want to put it on. It's also quite handy when you start to really change colours to dry it between layers. So I'm not going to dry it between these two layers because they're both sort of shades of orange or yellows and things. So let's just do the next one. Right, I'm going to stop there. I'm just going to get my heat gun and I'm just going to dry that off, and I'll be right back when that's dried off. Okay, I'm not too concerned about it being overly dry. I'm just trying to get rid of the puddles. I'm going to just go back in with my honey pot because it's a little bit light, I think, on my honey pot. A little bit of water. Let's come back in with it. I see it's picking up a bit better now. And you can always, if you don't do it, you can always pick up bits as well. Okay, I think that'll nearly do. Just picking up some bits. Right, okay. Let's just dry those off again. Now, when I'm doing this, here's a top tip for you. Always try and dry from the back as well as the front, because it just stops the card from bending and twisting quite so much. So this is the grasshopper. I love this. So, you know, any of your inks, you could use your oxide inks, whichever you wanted. And I'm leaving little bits of white, but a lot less white than colour over the top, and you can see why. Because I've dried them, we're not getting muddy browns. If I hadn't have dried, I would have ended up with quite a lot of muddy colours. And again, once you've diluted it quite well down, you can always pick up little bits. Okay, so now I just need, oops, that was my pokey tool, I think. I'm just going to dry that off again. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to have a go at doing a little bit of spritzing on there. So I've got peeled paint and spiced marmalade. You've seen me do this recently. Paintbrush, water. I've got a lot going off around here, haven't I? Should we just clear a few bits out of the way? There we go. Paintbrush and spray. Again, if you want to spritz them, go for it. That's not the look I'm going for, so I'm going to take this. I did a card recently where I was doing splats, and I did it on to multi-purpose card, and the splats did splay a little bit. Now you'll see a difference here when I come, because I'm doing these on watercolor card. The splats do stay a lot more true to themselves, so it's your choice how you want to do them. Love watching what's happening in that water. So then we've got the orange. Oops, not my pokey tool. Want my brush. This is just an A4 plastic tray. I use it all the time when I'm doing painting bits. I just occasionally change the kitchen roll, paper towel, not very often, but it just captures all the bits. It stops the majority of it going all over my craft desk. Not all of it by any means, but most of it. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do. Now, Dry that with your heat gun and then leave it to dry. You want it to be very, very dry for the next bit. So what I'm going to do is put that one to one side, and I'm going to bring one in exactly the same. Let's get rid of the heat gun. Exactly the same, but I actually did this one yesterday. You don't need to leave it that long, but that, for me, that works. And I'm going to bring in my stamping platform. So I'm going to pop this onto my stamping platform. As I said, this is just about just getting, oops, my magnets have gone together, just about using it for scrap. And then we can put one up there and one down there. Now I found some sentiments. So they're all Crafter's Companion ones, which is most of my stamps are. I've got Happy Birthday, and I'm going to use a couple of those. And I've also got some butterflies. I'm going to use a couple of these. So I'm going to use this one. And I'm going to use, I think, this one. There we go. I'll do the Happy Birthday in a minute. Now, I've used a lot of water on my project, so I am going to use a waterproof ink. Sorry, not a water reactive, waterproof, completely different. I've got my Ranger Archival. It's permanent and it's waterproof. That for me is just, I'm putting it over a water-based ink. Now I know that's dry, it's been drying since yesterday, but I just feel I do like to use a waterproof ink. If it's dry and you've only got your regular ink, that'll be fine. Now I need to actually, I might just bring that one down there. I find sometimes if your magnets are a little bit deeper than your stamps, you don't always get the perfect stamp. That's why I use a platform, because it means I can go back in. Right, it was top end, wasn't it? There we go. That's it. That's all I'm going to do with those. Doesn't that look brilliant? I mean, it's just so good. So then with a Happy Birthday, all I would do would be, oops, get them off if I can. And let's put the birthday on. Then we can put the happy. Now I thought I would do it so that they're roughly centered, just like that. And then I can pick those up. And then again, exactly the same ink. The great thing is, I find this waterproof ink is really black. Now that sounds silly, but some blacks are a bit grayer than others, aren't they? Whereas this one is really black. There we are. Now, not quite good enough, because remember, you're stamping onto watercolour card. Watercolour card does drink the ink. So to be able to stamp twice, which you can when you've got a platform, there we go, much, much better coverage. There we are. And then I would stamp out the butterflies multiple times. And then all you need to do is get your scissors and cut them out. It's entirely up to you. So just take your scissors, just like that. I always cut them roughly, and then I'm just going to cut a millimetre or so from the black line. You can cut it onto the black line if you would rather. I like to give myself a little bit of a border, just like you would if you had a die. And don't worry about following it perfectly. No one is going to notice. And I love how we get white, we get orange, we get green, we get all of the colours. What I love about this as well is it's not pink and purples. So easy to do butterflies in pinks and purples, because we sort of go quite traditional, don't we? But it's not. We're going, I wanted bright and colourful, cheery. Now, I like to cut things like this with big scissors. Some people would prefer small scissors. There isn't a right and a wrong way. I've seen different people cut them different ways. This is what we call fussy cutting, and you fussy cut however you want. Some people say I can't fussy cut. It's just practice, but it's just about following that line. But if we do a little bit of shaping at the end, no one's going to see if it's not perfect. Look at that. That's not perfect anyway, by any means. But I promise you, no one will notice by the time we get to the end. We cut round like that, and then cut there, cut round to there. You don't have to do it in one big cut. You can cut it off as many times as you want. And then I'm going to do exactly the same for the Happy Birthday. So all I would get at the end is, I've got too many of these now. I've got 4 of the bigger butterflies. I've got 2 that I don't need anywhere near as much as that. And I've cut out the happy birthday. And you saw how I had this. So to get that perfect shape, all I did was I turned this over. I drew round it with pencil. And then I cut out the outline. And that now fits perfectly. You just have to remember, if you're done on the back, you've got to turn your stamped image over as well. Okay, so let's start putting this together, because believe it or not, we are nearly there. So I'm going to pop bits of glue on the back of here. So that one goes on to there. Everything will be matching, which is absolutely perfect. So that's going on there. Let's move these out of the way. Let's reveal our card base, which has been under some weights. Oh, isn't that perfect? So you can just see where my colours came from, can't you? Isn't that perfect? Okay, let's have a look. So if I come on with my sentiment, then I come on with a butterfly. And then we come on with another butterfly. Now, you can go straight. It would end up looking a bit like soldiers on a parade field. So I always like to do them at a little bit of an angle. And then my initial thought was to use 3 big butterflies. Would I go? No. Still could work with 3 big butterflies. I've not ruled it out yet. But I think, or do I want? No. Oh, I don't know now. I don't know now. Why do I do this every time? Do I want this one down here? Oh, so many decisions. Actually, I quite like that. That's my combination I want to use. Okay, so I'm going to come in with my 3D glue. I'm also going to get a foam pad, I think. Foam pad under the happy birthday, just to save on the glue a little bit, just to show you how it can be different mediums. So let's put that. I hope I'm not going too many butterflies. Right, now the other thing I want to do is I don't want my butterflies to be flat. So nail on the body, just a little bit of shape. Tell you what would also look nice. I could still actually do that. Just a minute. Let me have a think. I've got a sparkle pen. And this has all been done with waterproof ink. Good reason for using waterproof ink. I could go in with a water-based sparkle pen. A little bit, oh, there it is. Let's just brush over with a sparkle pen. I'm not trying to do too heavy, but just a little bit. So sparkle pen is basically, it's water with mica in. That's all it is. There's nothing fancy about these. You can get, this one is Crafter's Companion. Winker Stella is another brand. And I couldn't have done this if I hadn't have used a waterproof ink pad. Because I've used a waterproof ink pad, I can do that. There we go. Knew there was a reason. Knew there was a reason. It all comes good in the end. There we go. Again, it's waterproof, watercolour card, so it will drink up the sparkle. So you might have to go a couple of times. Anyway, all right. So I've done that, and I can't remember what my configuration was now. So let's do one down here. Little bit of 3D glue. Just taking the bung out where it's just dried overnight. There we go. Does happen sometimes if it's not totally airtight. You could do this with just regular flat glue. It would work. The great thing about 3D glue is it gives you plenty of time to move things around. You know, it doesn't dry straight away. It takes about half an hour to cure, but after that it's not properly set for 24 hours. good thing about the sparkle as well is it's wet the card, so it's making them really, oh, isn't that pretty? Really easy to bend and to shape. Let's just come round on this one a little bit. Let's do a little bit on here. And I thought I could just have that one coming out of there. Now the only final little bit I want to do, let's see if I can find some orange gems. Right, couldn't find gems the colour I wanted, so I've grabbed myself a couple of brushes. Now I'm not sure which ones I want. That would work, wouldn't it? I think that might be what that colour is. Just colouring up a couple of regular pearls just with my pens. Let me see what other colour I've got. I've got orange. This is burnt orange. Well, that's a bit pale, isn't it, I think? Let's just see what the darker one looks like. Well, that's a nice colour. Well, I do like that. That does go with that one quite well. Which colour do I want? Oh, I don't know now. You just need to give them a minute to dry. And I do find brush nibs are better than your bullet nibs. Just do a couple of small ones as well. I'll do them in both colours while I decide. And they can be drying. Just literally painting over the pearls. Such a clever way to do it, isn't it? You just know then that everything is going to match. Did I use that one? No, I didn't. That was too pale. Is this? I've gone paler. I've gone the wrong end. There we go. This one's a bit more gold, isn't it? It is gold yellow. There we go. Now I need my scissors, tweezers. Right, what do I want? What do I want? I quite like this one. Oh, that one jumped. Turn it over. I think the smaller ones are definitely better. Ooh, didn't mean that to happen because it's probably still a bit damp. I think I lost the glue off that one. So we can, I can see it on the sheet. So we just want to put a tiniest bit of glue on. There's always a way. We don't think a bit of problems. What is it they say? Opportunities. Opportunities. Let's see if we can get another one to just go in there. I know some people like to put their gems sort of down the body of the butterfly. That would look nice if you've got really small. I think that's enough. I think that's enough. Any more would probably be too much. And there you go. So if you don't like colouring your die cuts, you don't need to colour your die cuts. You can create a lovely inky background, just like we did on here. Stamp onto it, cut them out, and there you have it. I just wanted to show there are different ways to achieve. And remember, make sure your butterflies sort of go in different directions. Otherwise they look like soldiers on parade, and we don't want that at all. How about that? Really a little bit different. Something quite simple. But I really, really like that. So I hope you do too. Please don't forget to click on the subscribe, which will be on the right, or watch my other video, which the link will be on the left. And if you haven't already done so, please go and have a look at the links down below. I'll link to the oxide sprays. I'll link to some inks. I'll link to the cream cardstock. Lots of bits and pieces will all be linked down below, including the link to my Buy Me a Coffee page. So any support you can give to my channel, I really, really do appreciate. Thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed this. I've really enjoyed putting it together. I've kept the background clean. That's not like me, is it? Please let me know what you think. I'd love to know. Please leave a comment. Please leave a like. As you can imagine, every bit of interaction really helps. So until next time, my crafty friends, there's a link on the right, a link on the left, and I'll be back with you very soon. So until then, bye for now.